Don't sleep on Mac Jones at Alabama in 2020. But before we get started with the video, please make sure to hit the thumbs up button. We appreciate you guys being here. We appreciate you guys subscribing to our channel right here on BamaInsider.com. What's going on, everyone? It's Kyle Henderson back with another video talking about Mac Jones back for the 2020 season. But let's rewind to before Mac Jones got to Alabama. He was a Rivals.com 4-star in the class of 2017. Came in with the same class as Tua Tagovailoa, Jerry Jeudy, Najee Harris, etc. That's a hard-hitting class, as you know. He was a member of that 2017 national title team. He saw Alabama come back, saw Alabama grind it out to beat Georgia. And then in 2018, he was an A-Day MVP. Remember when he outdueled Jalen Hurts in that A-Day game? 289 yards with 2 touchdown passes. Then he saw Alabama lose to Clemson in the 2018 title game. Point is, he's seen Alabama win a title. He's seen Alabama lose a title. A lot of experience. He's been working with the offensive coordinators throughout that time to hone in on his craft. There's been several times that we've talked to Tua Tagovailoa, and he has said, Mac Jones knows the playbook just as well as I, inside and out. Mac Jones has a ton of experience, and that experience was put to the test in 2019. Mac Jones played a significant amount of time during the season. He played in 12 out of Alabama's 13 games. He was 97 of 141 passing. He had 1,503 yards, 14 touchdowns, 3 interceptions, and a passer rating of 183.2. Now, against Arkansas, that was the first time that he started for the Crimson Tide. He was 18 of 22 in that game, 235 yards, 3 touchdowns, and a rating of 216.5. Fantastic numbers for someone starting their first game for the Crimson Tide. Against Mississippi State, where he had to come in after Tua Tagovailoa's injury, he was 7 of 11 passing for 94 yards. Against Western Carolina, 10 of 12, 275 yards with 3 touchdowns. And against Auburn, in the biggest game of the season for the Alabama Crimson Tide, he was 26 of 39, 335 yards passing, 4 touchdowns with 2 interceptions. That was against the 28th ranked defense in the country on the road at Jordan-Hare Stadium. Now, against Michigan, he was 16 of 25, 327 yards with 3 touchdowns against the 11th ranked defense and looked polished, looked poised, threw the football right on the money. It was a fantastic performance that not a lot of people talked about. A lot of people are so fixated on the fact that he threw those 2 pick sixes against Auburn, and that's all he did last season. You need to stop, because what he did last season was something special. Coming in for injured Tua Tagovailoa and playing in a big-time game on the road against Auburn, there's not too many backup quarterbacks in the country that would come in and post up 235 yards and 4 touchdowns. So stop if you're trying to be critical just on Mac Jones' 2 interceptions. If you're fascinated just on those 2 interceptions, you need to move past that, because you need to see the larger spectrum of Mac Jones and what he did last season and the type of quarterback that is returning for the 2020 season. Check out this particular stat. Jones averaged 293 yards passing, 3.2 touchdowns, and 0.5 interceptions per last season. In translation, over a 13-game season, those averages would total 3,809 yards, 42 touchdowns, 6 interceptions. For perspective, former Oregon quarterback Justin Herbert, who was taken number 6 overall by the Los Angeles Chargers in last week's NFL draft, threw for 3,471 yards and 32 touchdowns. And 6 interceptions last year. As you can see, if Mac Jones played in 13 games as a starter, as we said, it just translated, he would have a fantastic season and mind-blowing numbers. In fact, he has odds to win the Heisman Trophy of 25-1. Let's talk about Mac Jones' key attributes. I think the first thing we need to talk about is his toughness. Go back and watch that Auburn game. Think about the times that Derrick Brown got to him, that Auburn's ferocious defense got to him, tried to kill him. Every single time, popped right back up. The Tigers took him to the ground. It was unbelievable. It was an unbelievable performance. It really showed so much toughness by Mac Jones. Really got up. I mean, did you guys see the picture floating around during the 4th quarter program this past January when Mac Jones had that bloody nose? My point is, people know him for being a tough dude, know him for leading the team, has an alpha mentality about him. You don't always have to be an outspoken person to have that alpha mentality. If you can really just hone in on your craft and you can do your thing, People look at you as an alpha, and that's how they see Mac Jones coming back as a leader of this team. Now, in 2 seasons playing under Sarkisian, he knows the playbook inside and out, and I think the experience is really going to bode well for him going into the 2020 season. I mean, this is a guy who really knows his weapons, who knows his personnel, knows that he has Najee Harris on the outside, knows that he has Waddle, knows that he has Mechie, knows that he has Devontae Smith. That brings you a lot of confidence. You talk about the offensive line in front of him. You're coming into the season not only with a lot of experience in the playbook, but just a lot of weapons on the outside. That gives you confidence as a quarterback. And I think another thing that I like about this kid is the demeanor. Let's rewind again to the key loss against Auburn. He was cool. He was calm. He never panicked. He never made mistakes. Even when Joseph Bolivas hit the crossbar in the final moments of that game, number 1 guy right next to him was Mac Jones patting him on the helmet, saying it's all right. So I think as a teammate and the confidence, this guy has what it takes to lead Alabama back to the promised land. You guys saw that funny story, right? Floating around about last season when Mac Jones and Nick Saban kind of jarring at each other. And I think to my recollection, it read like this. Mac Jones is throwing passes for completions again and again against Alabama's first team defense. And he's hooking up, I believe it was with Terrell Shavers. And Nick Saban yells from across the field, stop throwing it to him. And Mac Jones is like, well, tell your defense to stop him. So, I mean, he's not afraid to really get to that level of competitiveness. And that's what you really got to like about your quarterback, right? That's my quarterback. And that's what you can get from a guy like Mac Jones. Very humble and a fiery competitor. I think when you look at what he needs to improve on, and I've watched a lot of film on Mac Jones, watched him several times. I think if there's any particular area that he can improve on, I think it's his arm strength. I think there was a couple times last season where he floated balls, and he doesn't have the velocity and that zip that Tua Tagovailoa has on his football. But I think he can still get to the receivers on big plays downfield. I mean, there was several times last season where he hit his receivers right in stride, but I think he floated balls sometimes around that 15-yard to 20-yard parameter on the field, and sometimes it was costly. I mean, that one pick 6 against Auburn, that was a floated ball by Mac Jones. But I think that's really the only area that I think Mac Jones needs to improve on. So, I mean, that comes with arm strength. But I think when you look at his toughness, his experience, his demeanor, his will to win, I mean, this is a guy that you really can't sleep on. Mac Jones, great quarterback, very underrated. If you're a betting person out there, those 25-1 odds to take the Heisman, hey, why not? I mean, this guy's coming back with a loaded arsenal. He's going to put up big numbers, has a ton of weapons on the outside. There's no reason to sleep on Mac Jones entering the 2020 season. I know Alabama has a very, very talented 5-star in Bryce Young. I know there's Talia Tagovailoa still on the roster. There's also Paul Tyson down there. But the guy coming back that is the guy for the job in 2020 is without a doubt Mac Jones. If you're an Alabama Crimson Tide football fan out there, you need to appreciate this young man coming back, and you need to have faith in his abilities to lead this Alabama Crimson Tide team. I've seen him plenty of times. He's a big-time quarterback. He's going to do big things in the 2020 season. Hey, thank you so much for watching. We appreciate you subscribing, liking our content. Think about becoming a loyalty club member. Get special perks to BamaInsider.com. This is Kyle Henderson, BamaInsider.com. I'll catch up with you next time right here on BamaInsider.com.